Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Spencer and welcome to a demo video showing off a brand new control board and lighting circuit that we have developed here at HobbyLink International, exclusively through HobbyLink International. In this case, HLIFX 002, which is the second board we have produced, designed, and manufactured. And for this demo video, it will be driving a Michael Keaton Batwing lighting circuit. Really excited to show you this one. But before we get to that, this is the second circuit board that we have developed at HLI. Our philosophy has always been to take an iterative approach, start simple, then progressively go to bigger and more complex things. This board is the next step in that direction. So let me just quickly give you an overview of the board. I will attempt to play the focusing game here with my camera. It's usually pretty good with this piece of ceramic tile, but here is the top-down view of the board. Yes, fancy matte black silk screening. I know some people don't like it, but we think it looks cool. And then probably more importantly for you guys and gals, the bottom of the board. Come on, focus. And there you go. You see here we put the labels for the solder points on the underside of the board so that we save a little bit of space on top. In this case, the control pins and effects pins labeled A through E. Not all of our circuits and designs that we use this board for will make use of all 5 of these pins. Some of our setups will use all of them, some of them will not. You also have VN, ground, and 5 volts. That VN is where you connect your power supply. The board is 9 volt and 12 volt tolerant. It'll work at both. Ground, of course, is your ground, plus 5 volts. That, for the Keaton Batwing, is just a placeholder. It's not used in this particular circuit, but we will be making use of this pin in future circuits and future designs for certain kinds of input devices and whatnot. But for the purposes of the Batwing, you can leave it disconnected and none the wiser. So with that being said, let me go ahead and shift focus over to the Batwing. One final piece of information in case those of you who are wondering in terms of size, the board itself is about 1 inch tall and about 5/8 of an inch wide. So if you're interested or you're concerned about whether or not this can fit inside your project, that's how big it is. Not much bigger than the size of a standard US 25-cent piece. So like I was saying, let me go ahead and get the Michael Keaton Batwing demo set up so I can show you the lighting effects on that. And I'll be right back. And I am back. I've got the Batwing demo circuit set up here on the breadboard. I use this breadboard for most of my HLIFX prototyping and design work. Pay no mention to any of this circuitry down here. These are just other demos. But as you can see, I've got the 002 circuit board over here, jumpered over to the breadboard itself with some stand-in LEDs to represent the various effects, and that's just to make my life a little easier to shoot these videos, and to also make the visuals not quite as complex, just so that you can focus on the individual effects. I also have a momentary push button switch here that is a normally open push to close momentary switch. So let me go ahead and apply power to the board. In this case, I am using 9 volt DC power. You can use 12 volts as well if you want. The board has been designed and tested to work with both 9 volt and 12 volt power. We personally recommend using 9 volts, but if you want to use 12 volts, that is an option. So you can see that the moment I apply power to the board, it starts to run. We have 3 obvious effects going on at the moment. We have a dual blinking anti-collision strobe effect. We have a couple of blinkers for the cockpit, and we have this one here, which is not going right now, but this is to represent the machine gun fire on the Batwing. And if I actually press this button, you see that we get randomized bursts of light, again to represent machine gun fire. Now the camera rate's probably not going to have a whole awful lot of fun showing that up, but for each burst, you actually have individual pulses, and I can actually see on the recording that the frame rate sometimes is not picking that up all that well. But again, there are bursts of light, and for each burst there are individual pulses to represent each individual bullet being fired, more or less. So to go into these effects in a little bit more detail, for this dual flashing strobe, in the 1989 film, if you actually look at the Batwing, there are no external blinkers. It is all static lighting, just running lights, more or less. You can think maybe of a couple of them being spotlights, but there are no blinkers. But we know that some folks out there are probably going to want to put some blinkers on it. Anti-collision strobes, like what you might find on an actual airplane. So we give you this optional effect. You can run multiple LEDs on this channel, so you can hook up to 15 to spread this effect around the Batwing, maybe one up on above the cockpit, maybe one on the belly, at the wingtips, wherever you want to put it. We also have this cockpit blinker here. Now again, the Batwing did not have cockpit blinkers per se. What it actually had was, or were, indicator lights, just to indicate whether a switch was on or off. But again, we know some folks are going to want some cockpit blinkers, so we include that effect as well. And you can drive up to 15 LEDs on this channel. We don't know why you would want that many, but you can. But more than likely, you're going to probably want 2 or 3, or maybe use a single LED and drive fiber optics to the control panels or what have you. In addition, we include an optional second blinking effect. This one is a little different because of the way the board is designed and constructed. You can have up to 2 LEDs connected to this effect. I only have 1 right now, but you can have up to 2. So this just gives you a little bit of an optional second blinker if you want to put that in the cockpit as well. And then finally, again, we come back to the gun flashes. Again, if I press this button, for about 8 seconds, we'll get random bursts of fire. The time between bursts and the time of a burst is randomized. But during a burst, again, you get those individual pulses of light to represent the individual firing of the barrels. Because if you watch the film and you see Batman pull on the trigger, the bursts are not continuous. It's not a long stream of bursts. There's a little bit of some randomness to it. And you can run up to 15 LEDs on this effect because there are multiple guns on the Batwing. You've got the wing guns, you've got the larger caliber guns on the mandibles, the part of the Batwing that's supposed to represent the ears of the bat symbol. And you've also got the optional pop-out minigun. Now, as far as we know, in the film, the minigun never actually fired. It was just the wing guns and the mandibles. But if you wanted to light the minigun, then in theory you could, because you should have more than enough LEDs to do it. Again, up to 15 in total. You can use 3mm LEDs, 5mm LEDs, surface mount LEDs for these effects. You can mix and match if you really wanted to. And again, the instructions go into that in some detail. But that is the Michael Keaton Batwing circuit, the Michael Keaton Batwing control board, which again is using the HLIFX 002 control board. We think it's a pretty good circuit. We think at this point it's a fairly comprehensive circuit. When you think about what really is on the Batwing, what was really shown in the movie, this kind of takes it a little bit further than that. But we like it. We think you'll like it. So head over to the HobbyLink International online shop. If we have the board in stock, then we ask you please consider buying one for your near or long-term Batwing build. So with that being said, I will put an end to this demo video. Until the next one, whenever that may happen to be, take care, stay safe, and happy modeling.